And we're starting in 4-point kneeling position with the arms straight and the spine in neutral. And we're going to allow the shoulder blades to glide in and out, coming together, pressing apart. Bodies dropping down towards the floor and pressing away. And then we're going to take a cat. So we're curling the tail under through to the head and then extending back to neutral. Sequentially flexing from the tail through the mid-back to the head. Feeling that sense of opposition and length. Breathing out and breathing in. And then we're going to turn the legs inwards, so immediately rotating from the hips. So the knees are in, the feet are out. And the same again, flexing through from the tail through to the head. Deep breaths. This will feel slightly more restricted in the hips, which is normal. Really moving the pelvis on top of the thigh bones, curling under, and then sit bones wide. And then we're going to hinge back. So without allowing the spine to flex, we're going to keep the tailbones wide, the sit bones wide, tailbone sticking out, hinging back, creasing at the hip without any movement in the lower back at all. So the further back you go, the more you want to feel that sense of sticking out your tail. We're then bringing the legs back to parallel, same again. And it's as though you could balance something on your sacrum without anything falling off, so that stays completely flat. Easing into that flexion of the hip, relaxing the front of the thighs. Then we're going to sway from side to side, taking the whole body with the pelvis, so the shoulder with the hip. And just turning the other way so you can see from the other angle. Again, just allowing the head of the femur to glide in the hip socket there. Nice and relaxed. And then we're going to do some similar movements with the leg to the side. So the right leg out to the side, we're going to go back to your cat, tucking under, curling, and then extending. I'm really accentuating the extension of the lumbar spine and the anterior tilt of the pelvis. And here we're hinging back, keeping the sit bones wide, tail sticking out. You may feel a deep stretch on the inner thigh of the right leg. And then we're going to bend that knee as we shift across towards the outstretched leg. Still keeping the tail out, sit bones wide. A deep hip flexion in the right hip. And then we're carrying the leg across the midline of the body. So we're lifting up, keeping it stretched and strong and controlled as we take it up and across to tap and back again. Ready to change sides. Back to the cat. Flexing, extending. And we're going to do 5 of these. And then into our hinges for 5 hinges. Really lengthening the spine. You can place a hand to see if there's any movement in the lumbar or the sacrum, just to check. And then shifting across, bending the knee, taking the weight across, still with the sit bones wide. And then pushing off the floor, stretching the leg, lifting and circling across the body at the back, tapping, trying to keep the body as steady as you can. And that's the last one. And now we're going to take your tabletop exercise. So starting again in 4-point kneeling, we're going to slide the right leg back and slide the left arm forward in opposition. We're aiming to keep the body steady, so no collapsing in the lumbar spine. A sense of lift in the tummy and a sense of length in the spine, so growing the head away from the toes and the toes away from the head. And just tapping up and down. We're not putting any weight on the hand or the foot. Keeping the balance, lifting and lowering. And now we have the leg out behind. We're going to keep it lifted and we're rotating the thigh, and then that transfers to the pelvis. So as the leg rotates, it takes the pelvis with it, rotating outwards and then back down, all the way back down. And down. And sliding back in, ready for the other side. Reach the leg away. Keep the control of the spine in the lengthened position. And then rotate the leg and let the pelvis rotate as a result of the turning of the leg. Couple more. And bringing it back in. We're then going to take the lift of the leg. We're abducting the leg. Sometimes this is called fire hydrant. We're going to lift and lower the leg. And then stretch it behind and then bring it back in towards the shoulder. So you stretch the leg away and then bend the knee towards the shoulder. Dropping the hip each time. So we're coming back to that tabletop position each time. And then we have the other leg. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then lifting the leg and stretching it behind. Bring it back to the shoulder. Still keeping the body long and lengthened. And dropping the hip each time as we take it back. And taking a deep stretch into child's pose. And we're going to ripple through, extending the hips, the lumbar, and the thoracic through to the head. And then stretching back and then rippling through, hips coming through first. and extending the spine through to the head. And then we're going to take 2 more of those, rippling through. Deep breaths. And then finding 4-point kneeling again. We're going to tuck the toes under. We're going to take a hover. So there's going to be no movement of the spine, just a lift of the tummy, pelvic floor for 10 seconds. Holding that position. And then lowering down again. And then lift 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lowering down. And then we'll do 1 more of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and lower. Well done. And straight into your threading the needle exercise. So we're taking the left hand, we're threading it through, bending the right elbow, keeping the length in the spine, trying to keep the weight forward over the hand. We're not going to sit back too far, hinging at the hips. Making sure that supporting arm really does bend to allow you to twist and rotate the thoracic spine. I'm going to take another set of those, this time with the leg out stretch. So you've got your right hand on the floor and your right leg stretched out behind you as you slide the left arm through and reaching back on the return. Nice twist in the whole body, pushing the floor away, ready to change sides. So we've now got the left leg behind, left hand on the floor, right arm threading through. And just looking, following the hand each time as you stretch, and then thread through. Finishing there. And we're going to take a stretch back into your downward facing dog. So we're trying to extend the spine if possible. Sit bones high, heels dropping down, feeling that deep stretch in the hamstrings without the lumbar flexion. Dropping the chest down between the arms, and then we're taking a stretch and walking the feet, taking that stretch into the calves and lowering the knees down straight into a pigeon stretch. So we're bringing the left leg forward as far as you can into deep hip flexion, rotating from the hip. Watching the knee here, checking there's no twisting of the knee, and then easing into that stretch, starting with the body upright and lengthened. And then if you feel you want to get a deeper stretch, you can take the hands forward, lower the body down, but keeping the spine lengthened. Try not to round the back. Have that feeling of slightly sticking your tail out at the same time. If that's no good for your knees, there's an option here where you can turn over onto your back and bring the leg across the thigh, turning the leg out, and then drawing the leg that is off the floor towards you. You're getting the same deep glute stretch that you would get with the pigeon stretch. So that's for anyone with knee problems who doesn't want to do pigeon. And then, of course, you would switch to the other side. And then we're going to lift the hips up into bridge and rolling the spine back down. So we're lifting the hips up, ribs are controlled, the spine is controlled. You're going to breathe in, take the arms overhead, and breathe out to roll through the spine, flexing back to neutral, lowering the arms back down. So deep breaths. Breathe in to take the arms over, breathe out to roll the spine back down. Now we're going to do some side lying exercises, making sure that we're propped up on our forearm with the shoulder away from the ear, lifted up on that supporting side. The right leg is outstretched, and we're going to carry it forward and back, keeping the body still, really flexing the foot as the leg comes forward, pointing as it goes back. And we're taking about 8 of those. Keeping supported on that left side, and then lifting and lowering up and down, but not letting the leg go too low. So we're keeping it in line with the hip. And then we take some circles up, back and round behind the body, keeping the body steady, controlling through the upper body. And then carry the leg forward, and we bend the knee and press the leg back. So extending the hip each time, working on that hip extension, but also hip abduction with the leg supported away from the floor. Last couple of those. And then we're going to take the other side. So again, both knees bent, lifting up the elbows directly below the shoulder, and we're lifting away from the floor, keeping that support, stretching out the leg, flexing the foot, carrying the leg forward and back, and forward and back. And as we're pressing the leg back, we're pushing from the back of the leg, keeping the leg nice and straight. Couple more of those. And then into your lift and lower. Keeping the leg lowering in line with the hip. And then circling back. 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8. Into your développé forward, développé back. Stretch forward, développé back. Keeping the lift on that supporting side. And last one there. Back to the other side for some oyster. So 4 sets of slightly different versions. We're going to do your regular oyster for 2 and 3 and 4. And then we're going to pick the feet up, same again, for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then lower the feet back down, inwardly rotating the top leg for 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then back to your regular oyster again for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ready to change the other side. So finding that good position to start with again, and lifting and lowering, rotating the top leg. 3, slowly down, and 4, slowly down. And picking the feet up. If you want a bit more challenge, you can take the hand behind the head for 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then lowering the feet back down for your medial rotation of the top leg, like a Charleston leg. And then last set of regular oyster again, 2 and 3 and 4. Well done. So coming down now onto the mat, hands behind the head, wrapping the forearms around the side of the head. We're going to take a rotation of the upper spine. Now it's a sequential rotation from the top down. You may notice there's a little bit of movement of the hips at the very end of the movement, so we aim to rotate from the top through to the lower part of the spine. Just letting a little bit of give at the end of the movement, but not moving the hips too much. Really focusing on the upper back. Letting the head rest in that arm on the floor. So the head is actually on the floor. If you need a block, you could use a block here. If your head can't rest and your neck can't relax. Switching over to the other side, same again. Always focusing as well on the spine. Is it in its neutral position here? We're not collapsing on the side closest to the floor. Keeping that support neutral on the sagittal plane. Really feeling that opposition from knee to opposite elbow. And then opposition from elbow to elbow. Breathing in as you open, breathing out to close. Controlling through the spine. And then we're going to take a raise of the hips in a side flex position. So hip raise. And it's weight bearing on one arm. So being mindful of the shoulder stability there. Keeping control of the scapula. Thinking about the ear drawing away, the shoulder drawing away from the ear. Drawing left shoulder to right hip. Breathing into lift and side flex. Breathing out to lower with control. So we should feel quite light on that arm, the supporting arm. We're not putting too much weight on because we're using our core control to lower back down. And then changing sides. We're lifting lung for 1. And 2. And 3. And 4. Big stretch. And 5. And 6. And 7. Big breath in. And 8. Pressing the hips forward. And rest there. Coming into seated position now, some knee rolls across just to free up the hips, making sure we have got no lumbar flexion. So we've got our hands quite far back, chest is lifted, and then rolling into a Z sit for some press ups there, keeping the spine lengthened. And then rolling to the other side for another 4 press ups there. But reaching the arms quite far forward here to prevent any flexion in the spine. Getting as much length as you can. Rotate to the other side again. 1 and 2. Quite wide arms here as well. 3 and 4. I'm rolling back. The last set there. 1 and 2. 3 and 4. So finding a position where your feet are either on the mat or completely off the mat, so you can slide your feet easily. We want the legs to be very relaxed for this, for your zigzags. Rolling the knees out, sliding away, rolling in and drag back in. Just watching that the feet are not coming closer to each other. You're still outside the mat. Keeping the space between the feet and just rolling the thigh bones in the sockets. Spine is lifted, neutral. And now we're back on our backs again in bridge position, just doing a few moments to extend the hips, to stretch out the hips in a bridge, up and down. So removing the ball now, and we're going to work with a tied band, so it's in a loop. And we're going to loop it underneath the foot. And we're going to underneath the right foot, and we're going to stretch out the left leg. We want to still feel that we have a neutral spine, and the front of the left hip is extended. We're creating some resistance with the arm, holding the band. So we're pulling on the band as we push with the leg, driving through the back of the leg, but just watch that the lumbar spine doesn't give as you stretch your leg. Pressing away, creating some real opposition again, pulling with the arms, pushing with the leg. And then we're going to place the left hand out to the side for balance. And we're going to abduct the leg, so taking the leg away from the body, but being aware of what's going on the left side of the body and the hip. So placing the hand on the hip if you need to give yourself some proprioception, to know if the hips are rolling. Really sending that lengthened leg down into the floor. And actually thinking about opposition, the hip rolling, the pelvis rolling one way as the leg goes the other. And then bending the knees in to change legs. Stretching out the right leg now. Bending and stretching the left leg. Again, maintaining the lumbar neutral. Breathing out as you stretch. Pulling on the band at the same time. And then stabilizing with the opposite arm. So the right arm reaches out to the side as we carry the left leg away from the body. Really active in the leg, so it's not really a passive stretch. You're still pressing the foot away and into the band as you move it across. And remember, you can always place your right hand on your hip to help give yourself a bit of control through the pelvis. And last one. So back to the first leg. I'm going to take some leg circles. So we can use the opposite arm again for counterbalancing. Even more chance of movement of the pelvis here, so take it nice and controlled. Big circles, reaching the leg away. And then reverse for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then changing the feet. Ready to go outwards again. You can rest the elbow on the floor, that helps for some stability as well. 3, and 4, and 5. And then reverse across the body and out. 2, and 3, 4, and 5. And then removing the band, I'm going to place the ball in the thoracic spine. So quite high up, hands behind the head resting in the hands. stretching back over the ball for some curl ups. And we're going to breathe out as we curl up, curl forward, slight chin tuck on the way up. 4 and 5. Keeping going. 6, 7, and 8. And then we're taking the hand by the ear, the arm by the ear, curling up again. And then changing hands for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this time we're going across the body, and we can reach the arm all the way across and then back on the diagonal for 2, and back, and 3. So using those obliques, and 4, and 5, and 6. Changing hands, reaching to the opposite leg and back. Big breaths out, breathe in, and out, and in to stretch back. Good. And then back to the center. We're stretching the arms and legs away, lengthening out. We're going to curl up as we circle the arms around. So in a little curl up over the ball, keeping the legs outstretched. Scooping the arms, hugging a big ball, imaginary ball in front of you, and then rolling forward over the legs. So full roll-ups now. Still with the ball. Using the ball to create as much flexion in the thoracic as possible before you start to flex the hips. So breathing in, big circle around. Good. And then releasing the ball. If you want to try without the ball, a bit more challenging. Rolling back down. Reach away and circle. Okay, we're going to hug the knees in for a rest. Take some deep breaths. So coming back up to seated for a moment, ready to roll back down again into our start position for our series of 5. So bringing the legs up one at a time into double knee fold. And our single leg stretch. Changing, pulling the leg in, reaching the other leg away for 10. And then we stretch, circle the arms, pull the knees in. And again. And stretch and circle. Keeping that curl up, deep breaths. And then into the scissors. 2, 3, 4. Out breath, out breath, out breath, out breath. And change, and change. Bend the knees in, hands behind the head for your crisscross. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Resting down for a moment, ready to come into a curl up again for your double leg lowers, or you could do double toe taps here. Lowering the legs again, keeping the curl up, extending from the hips, or double toe taps. Again, same movement, just with bent knees. And then resting down, hug the knees in, deep breath. A few bridges into spine curl down, just to release those hips. And rolling down, and hips up, and rolling through the spine again. So now we've come into prone position for some extension of the spine. We're going to start with dart. So we have the toes together, the heels dropping apart, palms facing upwards. And we're extending the spine as we rotate the arms in. Connect the heels, hold that for a moment, and then release back down. Just lifting, lowering, growing the spine, lengthening, growing the head away from the body. Really feeling the back line firing up, active throughout the whole area from the back of the head, back of the neck, all the way down to the heels. Really active. Then we're going to bring our arms into a more diamond press position. And we're going to extend the spine here in a cobra prep. So we're quite light on the arms, we're extending the upper spine, keeping the lower ribs down on the mat, just lifting and lowering, reaching the legs away. And then we're going to hover the hands off at the same time. So as we extend the spine, we then hover the arms up, lower the arms, lower back down. And then reaching the arms away into a small V, extending the spine, and then we're going to raise the opposite arm to leg in your star exercise, keeping the body still. No twisting of the hips, no twisting of the upper body. Just extension from the hip and flexion at the shoulder. When you've done a few of those, you're going to then lift up and paddle the arms and legs, hovering off the floor in swimming, and lower back down. And then one more set, lifting and paddling. Keeping really steady through the spine, reaching the toes away, and rest. We're then going to come into full cobra. So through that cobra prep position, shoulders down away from the ears. Light on the arms for as long as possible until you absolutely need to press with the arms. Dropping the elbows on the way down. So lengthening, rolling backwards. Allowing the hips to extend as well. So there's no restriction there. Slight lift of the tummy away from the floor to support the lower back. And then we're going to turn the head from one side to the other before we lower back down. So coming into full cobra, shoulders down, turning the head left and then right, center and lower. And then turning the head and bending the back elbow. So as you turn to the left, you're going to bend your right elbow and lower. So just extending that cervical rotation into the thoracic spine. Going a little bit further, looking over the shoulder before lowering down. And then we're going to add in a leg. So as you look over your right shoulder, you're going to bend your left knee And then look over the left shoulder, bend the right knee, and lower back down in between. And again, changing the start, the turning of the head each time, and then pressing back into your child's pose for a deep stretch in the lumbar. Deep breaths. Breathing into the back ribs, into the side ribs. And then walking the hands over to the side of the mat, so you're in a side flex position now. Breathing into the left side. And then walk the hands across the mat over to the left side, breathing into the right side of the ribs. And then walking the hands back to the center for some more ripples. So we're going to drop the hips forward, extend the spine, and back to child's pose. So through the hips, extending the spine through to the head, neck. And again, nice ripples through. Deep breaths as you go. Restack the spine. Breathing in, float the arms up. Breathing out, float the arms back down. We'll take a little twist, turning to the right, and then turning to the left. Lengthening the spine as you go. And then rolling up, tuck the toes under, rolling up through the spine. Breathing in, floating the arms up, and breathing out to float the arms back down. So now we're going to take some standing. And I've got my spiky ball, and I've got something to hold on to if necessary for support. And just start by rolling the foot. Really digging into the underside of the foot. And then we're going to wrap the toes over the edge and then pick them up. We're then going to roll from side to side across the underside of the toes. Same on the other side, rolling the fascia underneath the sole of the foot. And then wrapping the toes and picking the toes up. And wrapping and stretching. And then side to side, rolling across the metatarsals. Heel is resting on the floor. Then we're going to use the ball to help align the ankles, so pop it in between the heels and the little notch between the ankles. And we're rising up and lowering back down. So you can do this either with or without support. It's also easier on the hard floor to a mat, which tends to be a bit more wobbly. So you can decide how you challenge yourself. We're then going to take some little knee bends and pliés, keeping the heels on the floor, keeping the knees tracking over the second toe. Then we're going to take it from a rise into a plié, rising up, lower the heels, bend the knees. And all the time imagining you're against a wall and you're sliding down the wall. Keeping all the bones stacked, nicely balanced, growing through the crown of the head. And then we're rising up, we're going to bend the knees, lower the heels, stretch the knees, rise up, bend the knees, lower the heels, stretch the knees. And again, rise and bend and lower and stretch, rise and bend and lower and stretch. One more. And then to reverse, bend the knees, lift the heels, stretch the knees, lower the heels. Bend, raise the heels and stretch and lower. bend, raise, stretch, and lower, and bend, raise, stretch, and lower. Last one. So getting rid of the ball, we're going to take a little bit of a split squat position, but we're really going to use it as a foot exercise here. So we're going to bend the toes as you take your weight over the front foot. Bend the back toes. So really get as deep a flexion as you can, stretching the metatarsals, really lifting the heel off the floor, transferring the weight back and forth, still keeping very balanced and growing taller. Over to the other side, same again. So lower the heel back down and then bend both knees. Shifting the weight back and forth, encouraging deep flexion in the toes. So here a little more footwork. We're walking the toes, we're pressing the toes into the mat, pushing away from the floor to really use those metatarsals to drive the foot off the mat. And then we're doing a set on the other leg, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And now we're going to turn the feet into Pilates stance or first position. Taking some rises here. Rising up and down, really pulling up the legs nice and strong and straight. 4 and 5 and 7, 8, 9 and 10. Plies and 2 and 3 and 4. Keeping the heels down, 5 and 6 and 7, 8, 9 and 10. Rising up and then straight into a plie, straight into a rise. So combining those two, quite fluid, strong straight legs as you pull the legs up to rise. I'm going to take the heels off. So we bend into plie, raise the heels, stretch the legs and lower. Bend, heels, stretch and lower. Bend, heels, stretch and lower. And again. And we rise up, bend, lower the heels, stretch, reversing. Up, bend, lower and stretch. Up, bend, lower and stretch. Up, bend, lower and stretch. Raising the heels off and lowering with the knees bent here. Trying to keep a level height. Okay, now wide stance in your big wide second position. And we're going to have the hands pressing together just to keep that sense of upright upper body. And you saw a little bit of Alfie there, interrupting our class. Bending and stretching, really tracking the knees over the second toes, so keeping the knees pressing out and back. And now we're going to use the band again. So making sure it's tied nice and tight. And we're going to take your standing oyster. So you're standing nice and strong on the supporting leg, rotating the moving leg. So you've got your heel off the floor, but your toes are touching. Pressing the knee into the band each time, keeping the standing leg stable. So actually, although you can't see it moving, it will feel like it's actually doing the same as the moving leg. So it's having to turn out to keep stable. And then we're going to take some squats, using the band for proprioception, keeping the knees pressing out. And we're sweeping the arms back as the hips go back, and then sweeping the arms forward as the hips come forward. So the hips and the arms are doing the same movement, swinging forward and back, pressing the hips forward each time to fully extend the hips, keeping the body quite upright, so we're really only moving from the knees, hips and ankles. The spine is neutral, and we're doing some bounces in that squat position, about 10 of those, and then we sweep up again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and sweep up. And again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and sweep up. This time we're sweeping up and into a rise, so really trying to find that balance pretty quickly. We're really stacking those bones to find your balance. Big sweeps of the arms. And then we're going to take some crab walks here. So big step to the side, parallel feet, small step in. Big step, small step. So you're always under tension with the band. Always keeping an element of tension there. Big step, small step. Pressing the band out. If you've got lots of space, you can just keep going. I'm keeping mine to 3 steps here. And then we're going to carry the leg forward and back. So we're standing on the supporting leg. Doing the leg series here in standing. Similar to what we were doing in side lying, but just bringing it up to a more functional position. And then lifting and lowering to the side. Again, strong standing leg. Lifting up on that supporting side. And then circles backwards behind the body. And then coming forwards, still pressing back first and then forward. And then we're going to change legs. Forward and back. And then we're going to take the leg to the side, lifting and lowering slowly on the down. So we're controlling against the pull of the band. And then circles around, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then the other way for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Should be feeling it now, so a couple of squats just to relax the legs. And then we'll take a standing roll down, sequentially flexing from the top down, and then rolling back up. Pelvis comes underneath, and then we're going to extend the spine and rotate the arms outwards. So head, neck, shoulders, all the way down, and then return from the pelvis first. You could go with bent knees here, and then extend the spine, open the chest, looking up. And again, rolling down, rolling up, open up the chest, rotate the arms back. So everything is inwardly rotated here. And then turning the shoulders, turning the arms. And then we'll take a side bend over, sweeping the right arm up. Side flexing, controlling that movement, reaching up. Keep that lift as you go over to the side. Always lifting and lengthening. And again, this time we're going to send the hip away, bring it back underneath. Other side, side bend, then release the hip. Bring the hips back, lift up and down. Another one each side. And then rolling the shoulders up, back and down. Hands behind the head, little extension and rotation. And back to center. And rotate. And rotate, keeping the hips facing forwards. Breathing in deeply, rising up. And lower the arms and heels back down. Well done.